Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Chris Weidenbach, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Colonel Francis Colley. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors and by students on behalf of Cloncurry State School. I now invite you all to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's first World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway lands. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Cecil Rupert Rowlands. Cecil Rowlands was born on the 27th of February 1890 to Richard and Emily Rowlands in Currawang, New South Wales. The third of 5 children, Cecil was raised mainly by his father, his mother having passed away when he was 5 years old. Enlisting in September 1914, he was one of the first Australians to volunteer and serve in the Australian Imperial Force. Although he listed his occupation as farmer on his enlistment forms, he was also a civil servant, employed as an attendant at the local asylum in the Goulburn area. Because of his experience, Rowlands was assigned to the Australian Medical Corps, attached to the 1st Field Artillery Brigade as a hospital attendant. He departed Sydney on the troop ship Argyleshire in mid-October 1914. The ship arrived in Alexandria and the units disembarked in December 1914. After the infantry had proceeded ashore at Gallipoli, Rowlands' brigade was positioned at Cape Helles from the 4th of May 1915. The objective of the artillery in this area was to obtain a solid position at Ashi Baba. As part of the Australian Medical Corps, Rowlands would have been involved in treating shrapnel casualties caused by Turkish shells. In August 1915, Rowlands reported sick, suffering from dysentery. By the time he was transferred from the peninsula, he had developed irreversible scarring of his liver, also known as cirrhosis, possibly from having contracted hepatitis in the unsanitary conditions. By Christmas, Rowlands had developed jaundice, one of the first signs of liver and kidney failure. When he was transferred to the Australian Auxiliary Hospital in Hereford, England, in April 1916, Rowlands was incapacitated and his illness was now deemed permanent. On the 20th of July 1916, Cecil Rupert Rowlands died of jaundice and exhaustion, survived by his father, 3 brothers and a sister. He was 26 years old. Rowlands was buried in the Australian section of the Harefield Churchyard in England, one of 120 Commonwealth servicemen of the First World War. Each headstone bears the words, "Erected by his comrades," and "Anzac." The inscription written by his father reads, "In memory of our dear son and brother, may his soul rest in peace." Private Cecil Rupert Rowlands is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Cecil Rupert Rowlands, who gave his life for us, for our freedom, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.